This is Mark Menghi from BPMD and Metal Allegiance. You are listening to Thunder Underground.
Welcome to episode 277 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent here. Jason is out this week, but I'm here to bring you an interview with Mark Menghi. Very cool. Got this one done here a couple weeks ago, and we talk about everything that Mark's got going on with BPMD and, of course, Metal Allegiance. So looking forward to hearing that here in just a bit. We're also going to play some new music and talk a couple other things. But before we do that, as always, sponsorships of this podcast. Sunset Tattoo, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a tattoo shop that has over 25 years of experience. They're state licensed. They're mother approved. Their tattoos are done good and proper. And you can see that by getting on their Facebook or their Instagram at Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. See all their work there. They've got a lot of great work. We know people personally that had it done. We're going to be having it done by them soon. So get in there, give them a call, shoot them an email, set up a time that you can sit down and talk about what work you want done from Jake and the crew over there at Sunset Tattoo, and tell them we sent you. Also, MedFarm is a dispensary located right here in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. 24683 East Highway 51. They're right off the highway. Get inside there and check them out. If you don't want to go inside places, guess what? They've got a drive-thru. Most dispensaries don't have that option, at least that I know of. But you can get over there, drive through, pick up your order. You can call ahead. You can text ahead your order to make it quick and easy. Or you can get on leafly.com to see their entire selection, which is pretty big. Their slogan is Cannabis with a Cause, because 30% of their proceeds go into build no-kill animal shelters, which is an amazing cause that Jason and I have talked about for a long time. We're really glad to be associated with these guys because of that and because of everything else, because they're a great place run by great people. If you get in there, or if you text them, or however you contact them, if you let them know that you heard about them on Thunder Underground, they'll give you 10% off your first order, which is very cool as well. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or their website, MedFarm OK, that's Farm, P-H-A-R-M, and tell them we sent you. Hella Hot Hot Sauce, located in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. They're a mom-and-pop style business that makes small batch artisan hot sauces, but you can get online at hellahothot.com and order these to be shipped wherever you want. If you're in the California area, I know that they're in a lot of retailers out there as well. They've got a lot of different styles of sauces you can choose from. They've also got artist collaborations with former guests of this podcast like Ghoul and Hatebreed. Florida Frank from Hatebreed has a sauce called Florida Frank's Florida Heat. We've got our hands on some, and it is extremely good. It is very, very hot, but it's also very, very flavorful, which is what you want from your hot sauces. Get on hellahothot.com, get on Facebook and follow them, and tell them we sent you. And finally, DEB Concerts, a promoter based right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that has brought a ton of great acts to downtown Tulsa. They keep bringing them in. We can't stress that enough, that we love these guys and what they do. They had stuff booked at the BOK last year with Snoop Dogg, this year with Poison and Tom Kiefer and Sebastian Bach. That one, of course, got postponed. We'll let you know as soon as we hear about a reschedule on that. The New Metal Revival should probably be rescheduled as well. But in the meantime, August 15th, Dead Metal Society will be at the Ideal Ballroom along with Rocket Science, two great bands from the Tulsa area, which you've got to see if you never have. Both of them put on excellent shows. And then October 23rd, LA Guns will be at the Ideal Ballroom returning. They've been there a couple times in the past, and they always put on an excellent show. We had Phil Lewis and Tracy Guns on this podcast at one of those shows, the one they did with Junkyard, and it was fantastic. So check that if you haven't as well. Get on debconcerts.com to find out ticket info for those shows, and of course to be kept up to date on any reschedules or any future changes and all that great stuff as well. So thanks again to DEB Concerts. All right, we're going to play some music. Pretty new song that just came out recently from a band out of California called Grave Mistake. This song is called Up in Flames. Up in Flames, right there from Grave Mistake out of California. Great stuff. Groovy, catchy, everything you want in a heavy rock song like that. I like that they seem to be combining a few different styles, so you can't really say that they fit into this category and that's what you want from your music, in my opinion at least. Side note on this, which is one of our probably longest running supporters and coolest people we've met since we started doing this podcast, Kevin Graham, actually kind of turned us on to this because he was sharing this recently because his nephew is the drummer of this band. So a huge thanks to Kevin for turning us on to Grave Mistake and letting us get this out there to you guys listening. So once again, check out Grave Mistake on Facebook, anywhere you listen to the music. This song's on Spotify, YouTube, Tidal, all that stuff. So get on there. Check him out and tell him we sent you. I was trying to think if there was anything else I needed to talk about before we got into the Mark Menghi stuff, but just, yesterday, I guess, or 2 days ago, the news came out finally about the Metallica S&M 2 release. They had the S&M 2 concerts, the two of them in California about this time actually, I think it was Labor Day last year, maybe September. But speaking of, like I just talked about Kevin Graham a minute ago, he flew out to California for those shows, or at least one of them I know. So, but if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you've seen videos at least at some point. There hasn't been, I know they've released songs here or there, but the official full concert release hasn't happened. And who knows, it was probably supposed to happen sooner, but with all the hold up with stuff getting shut down, it might have got pushed back. But the point is, it's now coming out. I believe it's August 28th. Get on Metallica.com or on Facebook or wherever. Pretty much just Google Metallica and you'll find the link for the pre-order for this thing. They've got a lot of different options. You know, a huge, gigantic freaking option, and includes like music sheets that are autographed or something, I think. And then like there's a normal size deluxe package that includes vinyl, Blu-ray, a book, CDs, picks, and all kinds of stuff. And then I think you can also just order, you know, the double vinyl, the CDs, the digital, you know, the drill, all that great stuff. But the point is, S&M 2 is finally coming out in its entirety. So I'm sure once that happens here in another month and a half, we'll probably give you our review on it, because, you know, Metallica's Jason's favorite band, as we've talked about many times on this podcast, and I love them as well. So we'll be talking about that all once it happens. But in the meantime, get on there and pre-order that thing if that's your thing. Another thing I wanted to point out is that, you know, there's some shows happening around the country. You know, we've talked about a couple since about early to mid-June. Some shows started popping up at smaller venues, you know, around here and other places around the country. And we've got one this Saturday, July 18th, here in Tulsa at Badass Renee's. That show will feature Pay the Ghost, Dark Matter, Secrets of a Ghost, Caliber, and Violent Victim. This show kicks off at 9 p.m. You've got 5 bands, and it's only $5 at the door. So get in there, support some local area heavy metal if you're in the Tulsa area. Violent Victim was on this podcast back on episode 2, I believe it was 253. No, hold on, I looked it up here. 238. So go check out episode 238, which featured Brax and Jimmy from Violent Victim. But yeah, if you're in the Tulsa area, that's a cool one you can check out, so get over there and do it. Alright, Mark Menghi. If you're a diehard fan of heavy metal, I'm sure by now you know who Mark Menghi is. But for those of you who don't, he's part of 2 of the bigger supergroups in heavy metal these days. He's actually the person that spearheaded Metal Allegiance, which now has two albums. Well, they have 2 albums and an EP. And he is also part of BPMD, which just released their debut album in early June. BPMD is the initials of the 4 members of the band: Bobby Blitz Ellsworth, Mike Portnoy, Mark Menghi, and Phil Dimmel. Whenever I first saw this, you know, announced last year sometime, I think it was, or end of last year, I can't remember, I was blown away when I saw that. I'm like, Phil Dimmel, Mike Portnoy? I mean, we already know that Mark Menghi and Mike Portnoy work great together. They've been doing it with Metal Allegiance for many years now. Phil Dimmel is one of my favorite guitarists out there. Love everything he did with Machine Head. And now I can't wait to hear the new music that Violence is working on. I got to see Violence live in one of their reunited shows they did this past year. They didn't get to do a ton of them before the whole shutdown, but they did one in Dallas back in January at the at Power Trips Festival, Evil Beat 2, and I got a chance to check them out, and that was great. Anyway, those 4 guys got together and put out a covers album, and that's kind of what the project is. He talks about here in the interview coming up some possible future plans they might do with that as well. But it was put together, you know, as like a fun project for these guys, and it turned out great. You know, Toys in the Attic is fantastic. Walk Away, like the whole thing's great. It's just something cool, and I kind of mentioned in the interview, it's cool to hear stuff like this with someone like Blitz singing, because he's got such a unique voice. And normally when you hear someone cover some of these songs, you know, they've just got kind of a standard, what you expect from a rock and roll voice, but you don't really expect to hear the singer of Overkill singing some of these tracks, and they come off great. So Very, very cool. And of course, Metal Allegiance, you should know them. If you don't, as soon as you get done listening to this, go check them out. It's, an all-star thing that was started as a live deal and turned into albums with the, original music. Mark Menghi on bass, Portnoy on drums, and then you've got Alex Skolnick on guitar, who was on this podcast just recently. And then you've got David Ellefson on bass some of the time as well, who was also on this podcast. And then you've got a rotating cast of vocalists that include Mark from Death Angel on a few tracks. Then you've got Bobby from Overkill as well on there. Phil Anselmo sings a great song. John Bush. This is, it's just a who's who of heavy metal vocalists. Check those out if you have not. Anyway, I should probably quit rambling about all this and just let you hear from Mark himself. So here we go. Here's Mark Menghi from BPMD and Metal Allegiance. American Made album came out earlier in June. Was this something that you guys had everything done before, the COVID shutdown happened, or did it kind of hinder that at all?
No, we finished a record in 2019, end of 2019.
Oh, okay.
It was mixed, master, it was all done. We didn't even have a label when we finished. So I would say end of January, early February is when we signed with Napalm, and that's when we set a release date, not knowing COVID was going to hit, and obviously March, April, May were pretty rough months.
Right. Projects like this a lot of times don't see touring or anything, but like before COVID hit, how did you guys plan to promote this? Was it just going to be similar to how it has been?
No. We had a bunch of festivals, European festivals booked.
Okay.
A few benefit gigs. We were going to play and support it. But again, we're still hoping to do that, and we have plans to do that. It's just a matter of when the world opens back up to allow us to do that.
Right. I mean, obviously you have, the history with all these guys through Metal Allegiance, especially Portnoy. But like, how did this whole thing come about? Like, whose idea was it? And how did everybody get together?
Yeah, just something I thought of last summer, hanging out in the backyard with my family. And that's my then 8-year-old, now 9-year-old son actually put the idea in my head, and he said, "Hey, Dad, you guys should play this." And it was Saturday Night Special. It was on the radio. And that's kind of the light bulb went off. And I just called Blitz, and from there, it was born from there.
Cool. What was the idea to bring in Dimmel?
I think that was Phil. He said, he actually asked me, who could we get to play drums and guitar? And I was like, I know a drummer. I got a guy. And Mike did it, and Phil came in through Blitz, and when Blitz said Phil's name, I was like, absolutely. He would be perfect for this, because he could do, play rhythm well and lead well. And it's only a one guitar outfit. So, yeah, he immediately accepted, and literally after a week or two, we were down at Portnoy's house arranging and recording. Wow.
Well, what was the process of, once you guys got together, the process of picking all the songs? Was it a collaborative thing where everybody brought in ideas, or did you come up with this track list? Or
no, it was, we each get to pick 2 songs as long as it was released in the 70s by an American band. But we each get 2. You couldn't argue the other's choices. You had to do them. And then, which gave 8 songs, and then there was 2 community picks, which we voted on, which was relatively easy, and that was American Band and the James Gang Walk Away. And it was a relatively easy process with that.
What were your 2 picks? Or Saturday Night Special, obviously one of them, right?
And Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
Okay. Well, obviously you just said you had your 2 picks, and then the 2 community picks. Were there any other songs you recorded or rehearsed that ended up getting scrapped? Or
no, we just went in just what we had planted and ready to go, and that was it. We just focused on that.
Okay. I mean, obviously this is still early to even ask this question, but is this something you think you guys could keep going down the line with another album or EP in the future?
Yeah, we're talking about it. We're definitely talking about it. There's other territories. A lot of great music came out of the '70s in England. Some of our favorite bands from of all time are '70s English bands. So we would love to cover that region. And this just came out, still fresh, still new, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're definitely not ruling it out for sure.
Cool. So it'd be more like a theme thing every time you do it?
Who knows? Depends on the day.
Right.
It literally depends on the day.
You had these festivals planned, and hopefully, you can do this again in the future live, but like, would it just be a straight up show of the songs you put on this album, or do you think you'd bring in other covers or maybe songs from any of the band members' projects?
That's a great question. We never gotten that far.
Okay.
I would definitely, obviously, the record. The record's only recorded version is 39 minutes long. So live, that would probably be 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And if we did full on shows, we'd probably bring in MA original music and Overkill, I would assume. I've always assumed, but again, it depends. Who knows?
Well, how many different combinations of those 4 letters did you guys put together before you came up with BPMD?
Just about every combination you could think of.
Okay. So just write them all out and then just look at what sounded best?
Yeah, it's just, whatever flowed the best.
Right. Another thing I was thinking about when this came out is that, Blitz's vocals are pretty abrasive when you compare them to some of the singers on, some of the songs on this. I mean, it fits well with Aerosmith, and I mean, it fits well with everything, but I just mean, was that something you guys took into account, like how his voice would sound when these songs are amped up?
No. I mean, Blitz has a unique voice. We all understand that, but he can also adapt, and I think he adapted pretty good too. Especially for songs like "Walk Away," things like that, which is not in his range. He figured it out. Even Blitz will be the first to tell you he never imagined doing a David Lee Roth song ever.
Right.
But he had to figure it out, and he killed it. He did an awesome job. Presenting the songs the best possible way he can.
Yeah. Speaking of Portnoy, with, this project and Metal Allegiance, how do you think that you guys mesh as a rhythm section?
I like to think good. This is our fourth record together. We've done a countless amount of shows together and tours and whatnot. It's just, for me, it's comfortability. I feel comfortable with him back there. I know, I know how he operates, so it's just, again, 4 records deep with him. So again, I think it's pretty good. I'm more jealous that he gets to play with Billy Sheehan though. So
right. Well, whenever going back to the beginning of Metal Allegiance, was he the guy you always had in mind to play with?
It just started. He was there from day one. Even pre-MA. He was there, and he was just always part of it. He was always part of it. So it was never thought out, like, who could we, it was never like that on any of these projects. It's never like that. It's just, I guess, timing, or he was there from the beginning, and he stuck with it, all the way through. He's one of the few that's been involved from literally day one.
Yeah. When you're writing those songs for Metal Allegiance, do you write them with a vocalist in mind, or do you just write the song and then seek out who you think would fit best after?
We write to write, and then we seek it out. I remember when we were writing Mother of Sin, Alex and I wrote that, and halfway through it, I was like, man, Blitz would sound awesome on this. I just remember saying that in the studio, and we called Blitz, and he did it. Same thing, songs like Can't Kill the Devil. I remember writing that, and it was like, man, this screams Chuck Billy. And that's the beauty of it. We could work with different vocalists.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you've tried to get involved or that you want to get involved that it's not worked out yet on the 3 releases?
Yeah, there's a band missing from the Big Four that we would absolutely love to have
right.
play with us. A little band called Metallica.
Right.
I'm hopeful, though, one day. Yeah.
Well, I think I'd read at one point that you guys were already working on the next album. Is that correct?
That got put on hold with everything with COVID, and and we're all scattered all over the place. And I'm adamant about being in a room writing together. I will not write and make an internet record. I just won't do it. I won't do it at all.
Okay.
I'd rather not even play if it's going to be like that. I need to be in a room, and I think that's why MA records come across so well. And even the BPMD record, we were together when we did this stuff. It wasn't like we were sending files back and forth.
Right.
If you listen to Mike's drums on the BPMD record, he was recording to me and Demmel playing live to him. So it has that, that human element to it.
The two full-length Metal Legions, you're saying you wrote everything, like you and Skolnick and Portnoy sat down together?
Yeah, in the room. Oh yeah. Not only that, even after writing, we would be in a recording studio together. Yeah, I'd rather not play if it's going to turn out to be the way what I've been seeing over the last few months.
Right. How's the process of deciding, like, I'm going to play on this song or Dave Olfson's going to play when it comes to the bass parts?
It's writing sessions. It goes, with this last record, with Power Drunk, I went to the first writing session with Mike and Alex, and we actually wrote 6 songs within like 3 or 4 days. We wrote 6 songs within that session, and then I purposely stayed back so Dave could get his time in with them, and they put together 4 songs for the last record. So he just played on those 4, and I played on the 6 I wrote. He played on the 4 he wrote.
Kind of going back before Metal Allegiance, you were kind of more behind the scenes most of the time. Like, what are you most proud of in your career outside of the recorded music you've done?
Probably the one thing that comes to mind is more on the live side, where a few years back where I got to befriend Cliff Burton's dad, Ray, and he let me play Cliff's bass for a song. We did a Fallen Heroes tribute show. So to me, that's always kind of the most humbling, thankful moment. Because if you go back to 10-year-old Mark, I would have been freaking my shit out.
Right.
Yeah. So that's things like that, and I'm just humbled and thankful every day that I get to, write, jam, play, record with these guys.
Yeah. Well, which I'm assuming it was a Metallica song you played on the bass.
Yeah, Disposable Heroes.
Okay. Well, what do you, kind of on a side note, I mean, have you seen Metallica in recent years whenever
Oh, yeah.
Rob Trujillo was playing?
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I don't remember if he was doing it before the most recent tour, but he was playing Anesthesia in its entirety.
Yep, he's the perfect bass player for Metallica, that dude.
Yeah.
I've seen them every time they've hit New York in some capacity in the last 25 years. And, obviously with MA and whatnot, in my travelings, I've seen them, all across the country, out of this country. I've seen them a lot. And every time I'm always sitting there watching them.
I noticed through your Instagram and stuff throughout the past, year or two, all your vinyl. Like, what's your favorite, your best piece that you think you own?
My favorite is I have a first pressing Kill 'Em All from Megaforce Records signed by Cliff, James, Kirk, and Lars.
Wow.
That hangs on my wall, though. That doesn't get played. So that's my favorite, probably my most cherished piece. I've been told I have a lot of valuable vinyl, which I didn't even know. So I've always been buying records since I was a kid. I never stopped, even through the 90s and 2000s where they were dead. I just like the sound of vinyl, more so because you can hear the bass response. You hear that warmth in that bottom end. And I love the artwork, of course. So, I never stopped with it. But, I got a lot, that's for sure. As far as value goes, no idea.
Yeah. Do you have like a holy grail piece that you haven't been able to find yet?
I'm looking. Yeah, there's 2, actually. Beach Boys Pet Sounds first pressing.
Wow.
Looking for that. And I could buy it online, but I refuse to do it. I want to find it in a record store.
Yeah.
That's my thing. It's the hunt. There's that one. And I'm looking for a first pressing of mono. And they did it in mono back then of Abbey Road.
Okay. So is that the way you always do it? You refuse to buy anything online?
I won't buy a vinyl online. I refuse to.
Yeah.
Vinyl deserves to be sought out in a record shop where you pick it up, hold it, look at it, get lost in the music there. I've never, to this day, bought a vinyl online.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only ones I've bought online are, a couple, like, things that just came out new or special things, that kind of thing.
Yeah, even BPMD. I went to the record store and bought it. It's my excuse to get out to the record store. It's just something, one of the few things that I've been doing since I was a child.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and I'm hoping, and there is that vinyl resurgence going on right now, and hopefully people still doing that. My local record store has been open for 50 years. This year's, next year's 50 years. So there are people like me still, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously been a little less music released this year than normal, but like, is there anything that's come out in 2020 that you've been digging?
I like the New Testament record a lot,
right?
Which is pretty awesome. As far as new stuff, I really haven't listened to much, to be honest with you. And that's no disrespect towards anybody. It's just I've been so inundated in my own writing and what I've been doing. And I don't, especially when I'm writing, I don't listen to a lot of music when I'm writing, just for creativity reasons.
Right. Our episode that actually came out today is with Alex Skolnick, and that Titans of Creation is fantastic. It might be my favorite album of the year.
Yeah, it's nice to see Alex getting some writing credit again. I like to credit MA for that.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of on a side note, being a big Yankees fan, what's your thoughts on 60-game season? I mean, do you think it'll be kind of a footnote in history, or are you cool with it?
After reading these rules, man, they should just cancel the season. These new modified rules. It's horrible. I don't like the whole extra innings, put an automatic runner on second base. It's like, are you kidding me? It's I don't know. I just wish they would play the game for what the game is, not try to modify it to make it faster or this and that.
Yeah. I'm a Mets fan, actually, and being an NL guy, I'm kind of bummed about the DH thing, but at the same time, having Cespedes, going into that role might be a good thing for the Mets. So.
It's I like that the National League always had a pitcher at bat. I was always happy they never did a DL there. I think the pitcher should bat, even in American League.
Yeah.
If you're on that field, you should be up at bat. But obviously with the American League, you're accustomed to it because it's been however many years now. But we'll see. I mean, 60 games is better than nothing. I just think at this point, everyone's craving sports. Shit, I've been watching cornhole competition on ESPN. So,
right.
I'll take anything right now.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate all the support, dude.
There you go, Mark Menghi from BPMD and Metal Allegiance. A huge thank you to John Freeman at Freeman Promotions. And, of course, a huge thank you to Mark for taking some time out there to talk to me about everything he's got going on with BPMD, Metal Allegiance, little baseball there at the end. All that's going to be kind of interesting to see. Baseball, basketball, the stuff they've got announced coming up, the way they're doing things. And then, of course, we'll have to see what football decides coming up. But it's always cool to hear stuff like that from musicians, because normally just hear them talking about music or these days the coronavirus, whatever. Mark's a Yankees fan, for those of you who are not familiar. All right, if you're a first-time listener or you haven't listened that often, thank you for checking this out. Like I mentioned before, Alex Skolnick, is a big part of Metal Allegiance, and he was just on this podcast here in this past month. That was very cool. We also had David Elfson from Megadeth on here a while back, as well as Chris Broderick, who used to be in Megadeth, now in Flames. We had on James Lomenzo, who used to be in Megadeth, now is with John Fogerty, who was also, of course, with Black Label Society and Pride and Glory and White Lion. We also had on guys from Avatar, Seven Dust, the Black Dahlia Murder, Miss May I, Battlecross, Crowbar, Prong, Corrosion and Conformity, White Zombie, Sons of Texas, Death Angel. Hey, I mentioned Blitz from Overkill. Sid Falk was the drummer for Overkill during their kind of heyday back in the late 80s, early 90s, and he was on this podcast way early on. We actually did a 2-part because that was pretty lengthy. That was really cool. And we've also had a lot of guys on from the melodic glam rock side of things, like Warrant, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. We've had on Gene Simmons and Bruce Kulick from Kiss. We've had on guys from Shinedown, Saving Abel, Candlebox. We even had on a singer of Trapped, and I know what a lot of people think about him, but hey, check out that one if you're feeling so inclined. But anyway, check out any of them. 276 previous episodes. They're all on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Mixcloud, all that great stuff. You can also listen directly off our website at TheThunderUnderground.com. You can also see reviews on there, buy merch, get on YouTube, follow us, subscribe to us at The Thunder Underground. We've got a lot of stuff that's different from stuff that goes on here on the podcast. I recently did an unboxing and tasting of Florida Frank's hot sauce. And you can also follow us on all our other socials. We would greatly appreciate it if you're on somewhere listening to it, if you could leave us a 5-star rating or whatever it is if it's on iTunes or SoundCloud or whatever it allows you to do. Share, subscribe, like. All that stuff goes a long way to help us, and it's completely free for you to do, so we would greatly appreciate it. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll be back here in the next week. We've got interviews coming up with Dusty from Dirty Rotten and Gabe from Enterprise Earth. We've also got a couple other things in the works. Thanks again to Mark Menghi for taking the time to do this. Thank you to MedFarm, Hella Hot Sauce, DEB Concerts, and Sunset Tattoo. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.